welcome to Agent with Deb and Lou Ronayne. I'm Deb, and my special guest today is Chris Deighton. And very recently, something really unusual happened, something very disrupting with the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that today, what we've done and how we're planning for the future. But before we jump in, I want to introduce you to my guest, Chris Deighton. And Chris, tell us a little bit about yourself and your business.
Yeah, so I've been in real estate for 8 years now, and started off as a solo agent and then went into management a little bit. I ran a traditional office for about a year, decided that's just for the birds, honestly. And started a team and have had a team for the last going on 5 or 6 years now. And we have 5 agents with us most times, between 5 and 6 agents at any one given time on the roster. And it's been great. Been with EXP for a little over 2 years now. Love every minute of it. And we've ranged between 10 to 15 million in sales, every year for the last few years.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
So your business is set up very different than ours. Lou and I have a domestic team. We've been partners for a long time. In addition to the two of us, we have 2 very part-time buyer's agents who help out when needed. I've been in the business for about 17 years now, almost 18.
That's so awesome.
I usually work alone. I don't have an admin. I've tried them in the past. They don't work out for me, which is what attracted me to EXP in the first place. It's because EXP functions the way I work. Very fast, very high tech, and I just get things done. And it means a lot to my clients that they're talking to me throughout the entire transaction and not 2 or 3 other people. And that might work for some, but with my business, and I'll be teaching a class on this, an icon class coming up starting next week actually, on how I built my business to 98% referral and past clients. And for me, that's what works. For other people, it may not work. So I think we all do and function how we fit. But anyway, I do most of the selling, all the residential. Of course, Lou helps when I need it, but his main focus is agent attraction for the 2 of us. And he will also do vacant land development, commercial transactions as well. I normally do anywhere from 15 to 20 million in business per year on my own, sometimes 50 to 80 transactions. And again, my husband's always said I have this wide bandwidth because I can do kind of this thing the whole time with juggling, and I'm very blessed to be able to remember all those small details in my head. So it's always fun. The scenery's ever changing.
Yeah. And
that's part of the reason why we love it. So today's topic, something unpredictable happened. COVID-19 hit us and blindsided us. And we just are emerging from a 2-month quarantine here in Michigan. And for many of us, it was a time to pause. We were forced to pause, but we also hit the reset button and used that 2 months trapped at home really usefully to be a big benefit, not only to ourselves personally and to our health, but to our business. To rebuild, to maybe spend time on all those things. I don't know about you, Chris, but I have things just kind of waiting in the wings for me to jump in. This is one of them, the whole video thing. And we just, when we're busy and running day in and day out, we never have time to do those wonderful ideas we get in our heads. So, Chris, let's start with you. How did you spend both ways, business, professionally and personally? How'd you spend your 2 months?
Yeah, it's the great quarantine of 2020. We'll always remember this time. And I told my daughter that you're actually living through a history lesson right now. Yeah. And that 10, 15, 20 years from now, we will be looking back at this time and talking about this. So it's kind of cool doing a video and encapsulating what we did. And, for me, being at home, which we already, because we work in the cloud, right?
We do.
We do. So we've had 2 years of practice kind of getting ready for that part of it. And the interesting part was when the government and our governor here, actually closed down real estate, like literally said we cannot do this. So now you're left with, for me it was a moral, a moral, ethical situation where you've got clients who wanted to do something, but maybe we shouldn't do something. We kind of want to do something.
You're not
But
allowed
I'm
to
not
do
allowed
something.
to do anything. I'm not looking to go to jail. I'm recently married, and I really don't like jail or fines. I'm not a big fine guy, and we're going to talk about finances later. I'm going to get into that.
Yeah.
But what a great opportunity to take the time right now to reevaluate a lot of stuff. And I took out a pen and paper, sat down, and started mapping out just all those things that you want to do that sometimes you just almost get away. Like real estate is one of those interesting businesses, and I don't know if you feel this way or not, but where you go, and then you wait for something else to happen, because you do your job, you take care of everything, you handle your clients, and then you're waiting. It's almost like a relay race, where I'm running hard, I'm going to pass that baton on and go, here, you run, and then let me know when it's mine again, and I'll run hard again. And so you almost get into a trap where I'm waiting for the baton to come back to me. I don't want to start another race. I don't want to do anything else. So now nothing really important gets done. Like the marketing, like the rebranding, like how am I positioned? What platforms am I looking at to get my messaging out? What are we doing for a team? How are we communicating? Database issues. All those things we started, we always put off. And now through this, we've had such a great opportunity to just map it all out and say, here's the deal. I can now get a lot of these projects done. For me, putting down, kind of making sure that our expenses are in line. We're going to get into that later. But also working on self-development. And I don't know, this is really cool. And I know this isn't a video promoting this or not, but Masterclass is phenomenal. I mean, phenomenal. I've taken my reading up. So reading books that are both personal, just for the sake of reading, and then also books, for business.
Yep.
And reading about things like negotiations and how to develop better skills, ultimately for when we get back to work, that I can have for my clients. And so I have a value
you can
add.
Mention Masterclass is what masterclass.com.
Yeah.
Online, and I was just gifted from my son master classes for Mother's Day. Can't wait to jump in, but maybe talk about a couple of them that you did.
Yeah, so actually it was gifted to me by one of my buddies, a guy who runs an insurance company, and he called me up and goes, hey, I think you're going to love this. And so I got the free pass.
Yeah, nice.
I ironically thought it was only for 30 days. I didn't realize it's actually a pass for the whole year. Cool. So I was plowing through these like candy. And I did one with Chris Voss, who is the former United States head hostage negotiator for international terrorism. I mean, just saying that is like, wow, that dude's awesome. And he gets into it. He's like, look, you can apply these techniques to anything business related, and especially in real estate, because that's what we do. We negotiate. So learning from that, and just hearing some guy who says, yeah, when I negotiate wrong, people die. Well, nobody's dying in our...
serious.
Yeah, nobody's dying buying or selling a house. I know, agents think so. The way they call you freaking out at 9:30.
Life is over.
Oh, you don't understand. My client is going to go crazy. And you're like, no one's dying. Just calm down. It'll be okay.
Yes.
But the techniques that he goes through are fantastic. I did the one with Bob Iger. He's the former CEO of Disney on business leadership. Phenomenal. Just talking about that mindset, getting the mindset around having a business and actually treating yourself professionally at a really high level. It's awesome.
It is a business. We're not salespeople. This is a business.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thing. When agents get started,
yeah.
A lot of them think that it's a job. And actually, I think that's how they pick their brokerage. And some brokerages are geared towards hey, real estate's a job.
Show up to work, punch the card, sit at your desk. That's not where we get anything done,
Right. It's not.
It's not.
It's not. And when you make that leap to understand that, okay, the it's about you. What are you doing? It's your company. You have clients, and then you have vendors, that help you, accomplish what you're trying to do. hey, it changes the mindset entirely. And so getting my head wrapped around a business mindset, I always try to get around
Right.
high level people who are running big companies, because I mean, we just don't know it all. It's nice to
We
sharpen
never
the axe.
know it all.
But yeah, I mean, so reading more, I read a couple of great books. Killing Lincoln by O'Reilly.
Yep, all that series.
That
Great
whole series. I did the Killing Jesus. It's just the way that's written, and I'm fascinated by that. Plus the context of the time and the era. I mean, it's cool. So
Yeah.
I've done a lot of that. I also have spent a lot of time really honing in on my health, and I think that part is. I've noticed that there's two definite camps with this. During the quarantine, people are either eating a whole lot more, drinking a lot more than they have before, and that might be a coping mechanism. And then there's the other people who are like, wow, I'm really buckling down. I'm eating at home. Like
Losing weight just because you
Yeah.
are eating at home.
right, like
Yeah.
we're on the road all the time as real estate. I mean, especially in the evening hours. Going on appointments, meeting with people, doing meetings at coffee shops,
Yep.
all over.
Yeah.
I think that really takes its toll on your health, and when you're not focused, or like I said before, when you're just kind of like waiting for the baton to come to you, you kind of take the easy road and hit a drive-through or do whatever when you're
easy
on the
to do.
fly. And so I think, putting a plan together with that, it's ironic. I do not know how much weight I've lost. I have a friend of mine who's like, how do you not know? How do you not know that? And the answer is because my scale broke, the battery.
I was going to say, we're freaks. We weigh ourselves every day.
Well, the battery broke. So, and I'm like, whatever. My clothes fit better.
You feel better.
I feel better. Yeah, and balance in what you're eating every single day with the meals. And one of the things, being married to a dietitian, a nutritionist. Oh my God, she's gonna kill me when she watches this. Dietitian. She's helped me with the balance part of it. And instead of going from one side of the ditch to the other, and I really feel like this is a big issue with most people.
It is.
In every aspect of their life. They go from one, whether it's business related, and then they want to spend more time with their family, or they want to spend more time with their family, but then they need to go to work. And that work-life balance
Yes.
applies in everything, and you need balance. Balance is where it's at. And it's actually, I feel great.
It sounds easy, but balance is truly very difficult to achieve and find, for sure. So, very similar on our end. I mean, those little business projects that I had put off for so long started with refreshing our logo a little bit, getting new business cards that made sense, and moved into starting a YouTube channel. Something that just kind of sat there on my to-do list forever and ever, but and nothing is easy. It's like, okay, start this YouTube channel, but then it's like, well, we need this artwork for the top, and that's not just a picture, it's an actual YouTube banner. So now find the app or the program to make that artwork, and it's all actually, I find that all kind of fun, doing the research and figuring things out. So it was enjoyable, but I put that artwork on there. So we're just in the process of doing more videos for our own agents and for attraction and so on. And in addition to that, with the videos, we invested in some just basic lighting, the backdrop and so on. And what's really funny is everything I tried to buy during the quarantine was back ordered. So a second display for my computer, because I'll be teaching an icon class, took a while. Any lights, the ring light, the tripod, the backdrops, anything people needed to work at home. No matter where you tried to buy it, delivery was 2 to 3 weeks out, which is something I think we all had to get used to during the quarantine. Is we want something, we order it today on Amazon and it's on the front porch tomorrow, and that all changed drastically. So I think we all learned a little bit more patience during the process too.
And yet Amazon shows up to my house every day.
How does that work?
Because
We
my
don't
wife
know.
spends too much money. Just kidding.
Hey, she and everybody else. So also with the videos, I use a little app and put some other marketing pieces together without us or people in them, but actually just advertising. We updated our LinkedIn and Twitter sites, just again refreshed, and got into the habit of either tweeting or blogging. at least 3 to 5 times a week. And that was something like, oh yeah, it's all good, I'll do that. Or here's a post, and maybe next week another post. It really became kind of a habit and very quick and easy. It's almost on autopilot now. Graciously used my time to finish my icon class, which is debuting next week. And that's going to be called Find Your 90. And it's about how I built my business, our business, to 98% referral and past client. And it took a lot of time and effort because I want to do a good job for everybody and really share what I know and hopefully be a benefit to the people who attend my class. But it takes time to build those slides and put the content together. And having that downtime from selling really was necessary to be able to do that. I did take the class on express offers. You did too, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I got to say, one of the best classes ever with EXP. Terry did a phenomenal job with that class. I loved every second of it. And actually talked to somebody today who I think might be a potential candidate to sell their home via express offers.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Personally, my husband and I, we are very healthy, holistic type of people. But we put our whole routine into hyper mode, adding an evening walk to the workouts we do every day already. We're on a lot of supplements, but I think to boost our immune systems, we follow the advice of a holistic MD doctor, and even that improved. And I think just overall, we lost weight during the quarantine and probably got healthier. And we're prayerful people, so we didn't sweat the days away scared and worried. We have our faith and we have our trust, and we were very fortunate and blessed to get through it with everybody in our family very healthy. One in our family did test positive. Our daughter-in-law, she was sick for maybe a week, but overall it was an easy out. And then last Christmas, one of our daughters gave me an Audible account, and you talked about your master class. And I love reading, but unless I'm on vacation, I don't have time to read. And when she gave this gift to me last Christmas, she said, "Mom, there's a learning curve, just be patient." So when I first tried it, I picked out my book and I went and sat in a chair with my earbuds in, and I'm listening, like looking around, like, what do I do while I'm listening to this? And like, that was totally wrong because I'm too hyper to sit still and listen to something. So where it is a blessing and really comes in handy is on my power walks or cooking in the kitchen, right? Just plug in and hey, 20 to 40 minutes of prep time in the kitchen goes by like that because you're into a really good book. But especially on the walks.
I connect mine to my Bluetooth in the car.
Another
so when
great
I'm rolling,
time.
Around town, instead of listening to talk radio or music, I'm actually listening to a book.
Yeah, and with that, I thought, I'm going to have to be at least a half-hour drive to get into it or whatever. And it's like, no. I mean, I leave the house, jump in the car, go 15, 20 minutes, and I've knocked a chapter off of the book, and they're all good books. So that was a learning curve, and that was something I've really embraced and truly love. And now I'm hooked on the Audible books. So that's pretty much how we spent our time in quarantine. And I think we've learned a lot and embraced a lot, and hopefully we carry a lot of the good habits forward that we picked up.
That's like the hardest part.
Stay in the habit. So
are we going to have, how we have New Year's goals? New Year's resolutions. Are we going to have every March 23rd quarantine goals?
Quarantine goals.
I don't know.
Well, truly it was for me, it's always that little bit of break between Christmas and New Year's when I kind of start thinking and planning, especially New Year's Day, just kind of hanging out in sweats till noon with coffee and okay, here's where we're going this year.
You don't prospect expires that day?
Yeah, none of that stuff. But really kind of putting together goals and all that. So this was just the longest period of time, and it was wow, it was amazing. But so we got through the quarantine, and I think we both learned a lot. So tell us now what you're going to do to bulletproof your business so the next disruption we have, and they will happen, won't have a negative effect on your business, because you did not go through real estate during the recession.
Yeah, I've only been doing this for 8 years. So
Right.
I got started in 2012,
Right.
which ironically was when we were coming out of the last
Yes.
one.
Right.
And so everybody's like, oh, well, your whole experience has been nothing but great. Like the market's been going up every time. And that's an interesting perspective because, it depends on if you have listings or if you have buyers. If you've had buyers, if you're just working with buyers, dealing with multiple offers, again, it's going from one side of the ditch to the other. It's been great. If you get a listing, sure, it sells in 7 seconds, and you're fielding phone calls all day and kind of laughing at all the other agents, going, bring me your best offer. It's gonna be good. So I am interested. I have had a little bit of trepidation, honestly, going through this, because I know that I haven't been through a downturn, a quote unquote, a shift, if you will, in the market. And when you run a company, it is a lot of pressure. That's what it is. It's a lot of pressure to make decisions, to live by those decisions, and you're constantly, evaluating, like, is this good? Is this not good? I know you know
it's
this.
It's ever evolving.
You're like constantly just going through this analysis. Truthfully, I like I said, I grab a piece of paper, I end up writing down some stuff, I end up having conversations with the people closest to me, and I start evaluating all the different options, like what's going to happen, what if this continues to go on, what if we get a next wave or a next shutdown, or there's an economic collapse of some sort, all things that are outside of what you can control, for your own skill set for creating income. As a real estate agent, I'm good at negotiation. I'm self-driven. I make phone calls. I have conversations with people. I get the work done to do a transaction from A to Z.
Right.
That's what gets you paid. And I think a lot of people can do that. That's why we have for sale by owners, because they feel that they can do it the same way. Now we're going to talk about whether or not you do it at a high level and get great results, which is why we're constantly working on ourselves to be better. But when you start looking at the business side of it, so you get away from the day-to-day, what you do to create income, now it's almost that working in your business or on your business.
Correct.
And working on your business is fatiguing. I don't know if that's a word. Is that?
We're going with it.
It's gonna go. That's the new word. Fatiguing. It's exhausting, and it's exhilarating, and it's like a roller coaster. You're going up. You're going and then you're like, oh, man, that was good. You want to go again? Yeah, sure. Let's go. And that to me is business planning, because you can have the best plan in the world.
Yeah.
Right. But nobody. I shouldn't say nobody. There may be a few people who knew that this might have happened. People who work in Wuhan, China, or wherever, knew the virus was going to come and how it would affect. I was caught a little bit flat-footed, honestly. Truth be told, I got married last year. That was a lot of time and energy and expense.
Big expense.
My wedding date was September 6th in the fall. I went through not a terrible, fall, but I came back, and I'm like, okay, let's get focused. Let's start handling some stuff. And one of my top producers on my team decided to go solo. So, from a business standpoint, that's a negative. Yeah. And that was in the dead of winter, and everything's coming to a screeching halt. And right when we got ramped back up again, I had seven pendings over $2 million in the pipeline, which, okay, that's back to some normalcy for me. All of it gone.
So none of those pendings closed?
Nope.
Did people freak out and
lost their
back
job?
out? They lost their jobs, lost their income, and didn't qualify for a mortgage.
Yeah, so I had a listing that had bought, and then we got the buyer for their listing, and they were buying, and they're selling, and so one person losing their job affected 4 transactions, and then I had 3 more. Now, thankfully, I did have total 10. So I did have 3 closings that still limped to the finish line.
Paled in comparison to what was on the books,
but
in the pipeline.
And so that's the thing. And using real numbers, that was over $32,000 in revenue. to the company.
Yeah.
So 32 gone. Coming out of that, and then yes, the government's doing what they can. Yes, they're like, okay, you can be on unemployment. We're going to bridge this, but you're not. I'm not getting that.
It's not the same.
It's not the same. And so my takeaway from that is, gosh, what have I really learned from that is that I have to have better cash flow management, where you need to have reserves in place that you can.
In what, 3 to 6 months?
I'm targeting 6 months at least, because real estate's a 90-day cycle to begin with.
Yes. Right.
So even though, and I just put 2 listings on yesterday,
Awesome.
42 showings between the 2 of them. 5 offers on one, 2 already on the other.
We're probably like every other state. We have very low inventory and lots of pent-up demand.
So thankfully, there is that pent-up demand because we didn't know. Nobody knew what was going to happen when they kind of released some of the things and we're coming out of the quarantine. We didn't know. Planning-wise, you take these lessons and you're like, okay, maybe I definitely pushed the envelope a little too much. And I think it's easy to fall into that trap. That I really do. I really feel that way because we kind of do this. Well, I've been doing it for so long. I've been doing this for 8 years. And every year I make, X amount of money. I know I can go do transactions. And when external factors come in, oh my God.
Well, it is like the main power switch went off and everything went out.
This wasn't just a shift. It was like, stop. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm supposed to stop in the name of love, hammer time, or,
This time
whatever.
It was in the name of the law.
It's in the name of the law. But you know what? I fought the law, and the law won.
The law won.
But, so learning through that and now putting together a plan in place, I'm working from percentages now.
Yeah.
And one of the tricks that I think that maybe I do that other people don't do or should do is I have multiple accounts. Instead of having just one account for your banking, setting up designated accounts. You can do that.
Yeah.
And then you can put them through and you can move the money in between. Electronic, funding and all that other stuff, direct deposit and cash flow management is a lot simpler today online with the apps. And it's helping me avoid impulse spending, getting down to what matters, reevaluating the finances. And I think we'll talk about this. I'll let you roll on some of the stuff you're doing, and then we can circle back. But I really dove into, based on that story, that situation that I personally went through. And I got to believe I'm not the only person who, kind of maybe redlines some things from time to time.
Yeah. Well, you were not in the last recession. I was. I got my real estate license right at the end of 2002, and when 2003 started, 2 months after I got my license, I basically took our business over from Lou. He went on to be a team leader, an awesome, outstanding team leader for several years, and then he became the regional director and did a phenomenal job of, I have to say this, because I love him, he grew our region and expanded and opened new offices at a time when the rest of the economy was just, other franchises were losing agents. It was a really awful depressing time, but he did a great job there. So, but that's when I came in and took over his business. So the first 3 years, in 3, 4, and 5, were outstanding. I did 15, 17, and 21 million in sales those 3 years. No, Lou was not pulling strings and doing my job, as some people thought.
Rumor had
because
that.
he was really he grew the office he was team leader at from 100 to 303 people.
Wow.
Before he went on to be an RD. So anyway, but I was a businesswoman. I'd been in business before. I had to learn real estate. So wherever you're coming from, you bring those business best practices to what you're doing, and you can get through things, and it can become pretty easy if you work hard. So those 3 years were just phenomenal. My first 3 years, and I was doing a lot of new construction for builders and developers. By the fourth quarter of 2005, that's when our market shifted in Michigan, and basically new construction went away. I remember thinking in 2006 and 2007 and 2008, we'd been through just very tough times that affected all of us. Lou and I affected very deeply. It caused a lot of hardships. And I remember thinking, oh, when 2009 gets here, we're going to be out of this mess and things are going to be great again. And it just kept going and going. And we probably learned a lot of lessons that we never thought we would have to learn. I was trained as a Stevens minister at our church at the time. And I remember, I would have a care receiver and visit her weekly and so on. But I ended up telling our pastor that I really think I was called to that training as a Stevens minister for my real estate work and being with clients, because many of them who were facing foreclosure and short sales were going through the most difficult time in their lives ever. They were packing up young children in the middle of the night and leaving. I would go into homes and nothing was there except a couple toys and a sock maybe, and I would just tear up because a home for many people is the biggest asset or investment they'll ever have. And most people thought that was the end of their life. That was the end of the world. And through my training and not wanting to offend or get out of that being politically correct thing, I would tell them point blank, God didn't do his best work in your past. It's all out there in front of you, just waiting for you. And that one little sentence, you would not believe the hope it gave people. And when things finally did turn around and started coming back, I'd hear from them 2-3 years later, and they're like, you know what, we did what you said, kept our credit score where it needed to be, we're working, we're ready to buy a house again. And those people all tell me they will go forward in their life and really not sweat the small stuff too much. And it's unfortunate, but sometimes it takes a trauma like that to learn valuable lessons that we carry forward. And I know for me personally and Lou, we learned a lot of things, and having cash on hand is very, very important. You can't live paycheck to paycheck. You need to have 3 months, 6 months, 12 months of your expense money in an account that you don't touch. So when something like this happens, you're not worried about paying this or that, mortgage payments, food, whatever, or health insurance, which happens to be $1,800 a month. But and then this is left to our awesome financial planner, but diversifying your investments in your portfolio, we don't personally have to worry about that because we have a wonderful professional who helps us. And then just maintaining our business. And I look back during those recessionary years at how bad did the business get. The average sale price is the big thing. It went from here down to here. So even if you had the volume, your gross sales and commission income were way, way down. So, but we want to maintain our business and keep functioning. It's been 90-something% referral and past clients since I've gotten into the business and started doing it. So that means that every transaction, whether it's a $60,000 investment condo or a $2 million luxury home, they're all the same. We treat people right. We treat people with respect. We give 110% all the time. We solve problems for people. I never call myself a salesperson. I am a great negotiator. That part I love. But it's just really taking care of people and really acting like the fiduciary that we are. And that just forms a bond. It forms a lot of trust, and the phone rings. And I remember to be grateful every day and count our blessings and thank the Lord that the phone rings that way. But I'm also at the same time willing to work very hard for that too, and stay in gratitude. So, and then the other thing I think we've focused on, especially since being at EXP, which has helped us with this, is multiple streams of income. So this is not a profit share like some people know. This is actual revenue share, and it's true, and it's more than mailbox money. The revenue share is a big part of EXP and what attracted us, and it works.
That's an understatement.
Yeah.
Literally, for me, let's just talk about the multiple streams of income. That's why I came over. I kind of touched on this before, but just for a point of reference, I was married before. I said I just got married. I was married before, prior, for 14 years. I went through a divorce. many, many years ago. And in that divorce, I ended up losing everything. You know, because sometimes you just want out. You're just whatever. You know, I lost my portfolio. And I just wanted a clean slate. Thankfully, we didn't have kids. You know, so
You were starting over.
It was over. It was just, I wanted out. I wanted to move on. But I ended up taking on a lot of debt. I took on a lot of the debt just because I wanted out.
Right.
And I was confident in my own ability. I was like, okay, I'm just at a point in my life where I'm going to be able to rebuild. I'm going to be able to do all this stuff. I lost my 401k. I lost my stock portfolio. I lost any retirement that we had had. And at the time, I was 37 years old. You know, like, wow, okay, 37. What just happened?
That could be depressing.
It was. And I mean, that's probably another topic for another time.
Yeah, right.
I've had plenty of issues, and that's a whole mental health thing. And I'm a big advocate for mental health and
Right.
wanting to address that and having and getting it out in a conversation. And the reason I say these things isn't to be like, oh God, look at that guy's story. Like, holy cow. It's, I'm not alone. And
No.
that's the thing, is when people realize that we're more together than we are, you know, you're not alone. What you're going through, the things that you're facing, somebody else has gone through them or something similar enough that you guys can get on the road together and we can all work, you know, building each other up. And
Right.
and thankfully, Lou called me, you know, and said, hey, I want to just meet with you. You know, I've watched you grow your career. You know, I had a team. At that time, I was running a team that we did 24 million.
lot
And
of
we were
people on that
growing.
team.
We were growing. We did 14 million our first year, 24 million the second year we were doing, and we were off to the races. Now the problem with that was, there was so much overhead. People were like, look at you! You did 24 million, man. That's
How much
awesome.
money was Chris making?
Yeah. But one thing in business that you want to focus on is, what is the net? Don't tell me what your gross sales are. God bless you, you're awesome. But if you're carrying a budget, if you're building a business out, and I did that, and I don't apologize for it, because we were building a base where we were planning on expanding and having multiple locations, and a lot of that was infrastructure that we had to build in. And had I kept it going, but fine. However, politics intervened, you know, other things, and thankfully, Lou was a breath of fresh air for me. He was oh my God, really? There's another platform? There's another company? Wow, I can get rev share. I can get stock. Holy cow, I can get awarded stock for doing the same things I was
And
going to
you
do.
weren't easy. He had to
No,
talk to you
took a
and
year.
have a relationship with you.
Took a year.
Make that relationship. Get to know
Develop.
each other.
Bring value, come from contribution, as we all like to say, like we're bringing value to the relationship. And it was never a sales pitch. It was genuine. And I think that's one of the keys to everything with running your business, and how I've watched how you guys handle. It's very authentic. You know,
Just what we do.
There's people who love you. There's people who probably hate you. The same as me.
Yep.
But you see what you get.
Yep.
And I would rather have authenticity every minute of the day, so that I can just make my own choice. And I think having the rev share as a stream of income, you know, to contrast, you know, some other things, it's huge, because it can, and thank God for it right now for me, you know, because that's paying a couple bills for me.
Absolutely.
And it's huge, because it's not based, the company, the platform that we're in is so beautifully designed for this time. And it's a shift in the history. We're living through a history lesson where the career of real estate, the job, the path, the career, it's changing.
Yeah.
And it's changing for the people who are adapting and using the tools of technology to better serve their clients, build better relationships, and ultimately a better career for themselves. Because now we have hope, and just as career. I mean, nobody who wants to go to a job and just like wonder, like, God, what's going to happen next? And then something like COVID happens.
Yeah.
Well, then what?
And we were set up and to function for times such as these, probably light years ahead of a lot of other businesses. But I read a really interesting article last week on LinkedIn, and it basically said that today, right now, companies who don't embrace the work from home and telecommuting, whatever you want to call it, are going to be left very far behind. I think everything was moving toward the working from home, where we're here at EXP, and that's the trajectory. And I think the trajectory changed since this happened with the quarantine and people were forced to work from home, and I can't even tell you how many people who were like, I will never work from home, I need my office, I need this or that. They're embracing it. Like, you know what? I can go up and have lunch with the kids. I'm not driving 45 minutes to work. I am getting just as much done.
Yep, it's all about efficiency.
It's so efficient. And when I tell people how we work or remind them, it's like, no, we're not on a Zoom call.
Right.
We're in our cloud. And we have meeting rooms, and we have our own broker office, and this is where we go. And if I need tech support, they take control of my computer right now like that. I'm not asking the office manager to get the guy who comes in once every 4 weeks to fix something because I can't print.
To connect you to the printer.
Right.
Because every agent's ever had, oh my God,
Yeah.
I need the listing presentation printed right now.
I have a nice printer. I have no issues. It's right here.
Amazing.
But the tech support is there if I need it. If I need accounting, if I need training, if I need to teach, no matter what we need, we're there and interacting with people. And in our group, the people Lou and I have attracted to EXP, we have a pretty handsome group. You included, handsome.
Oh, don't make me blush.
And we actually have weekly meetings. And, you know, when we started doing that over a year ago, we were taking just the people who are local to us geographically and meeting in an office space. And this forced us to stop doing that, which the benefit is we probably have 400 people in our group, and they can all come to our weekly meeting. We meet every week for an hour, and it's so exciting to see who's at the table, who shows up. We talk about best practices. We might have a guest speaker show up now and then. Chris led this awesome book club on the negotiating book by Chris Voss, and we're just going to be wrapping that up very soon. We skipped this week because of a shareholder meeting. But our agents can bring their questions, we can help them, we can commiserate with them, and we can mentor them very easily at our weekly meetings.
Yeah, it's a real value add.
Yeah.
I think just, everybody wants to collaborate. Like, that's why people go to the office, right?
Yeah.
They want to get around other top agents. Well, here, we do it right in the cloud, and you get access to, top
And
agents.
I will tell you, speaking for the women, it's better than a Zoom call because you have an avatar. So if you're going to work out at 12 o'clock that day and we're having a 10 o'clock meeting and you kind of didn't do all this, you're good. It's all good.
I never would have thought of that.
Well, that's why I bring it up.
Right? So, how about the planning for your finances? Like, when we went through the first time, I'm curious. Tell me. Besides, some of the obvious ones of like, I had to make sure I wasn't spending too much money, things like that. What plans did you do, and what do you recommend now?
Well, like, you might have been caught after your divorce in a trick bag. We were caught during the recession with kids in college, kids getting married, kids in private school.
Oh, you mean life?
Like, investment properties. Oh, my mother wanted to live near us. Let's buy a place and have her live there. So of all
That's
the
never
things
gonna be a problem for me.
You shouldn't have been heavily invested on at a time of a recession. Unfortunately, at that time, and where we live in a city, it was real estate, and we certainly had too much. And I think for us, that's where that diversification, diversifying the portfolio, carries over. And I think once you've really been pummeled and kicked in the chops a few times during something like that, you don't soon forget.
Right.
Those lessons stay with you. So, I was helping a lot of people through their recession. I was in it too. And I had a lot of empathy for everybody that I worked with.
I know, for this one, what I've been working on and diving in, and I use a tool that, I don't mind sharing with everybody. It's pretty basic. It's called Mint. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. But it's an app. It integrates with all my, the bank accounts, and it shows all the expenses. You can quickly create reports. So it's almost like the layman's version of QuickBooks.
Yeah.
So if you're just an average person or whatever, the thing is, what happens is when you have that, and you can look and go, wow, I spent $700 going out to eat last month. And
That's
you're
a
like,
problem.
What
Yeah, right.
on earth? And you're like, wow, Buffalo Wild Wings is a little expensive. Maybe I don't order the queso dip every time.
I think what we learned about the dining out is that is our time with friends. That's visiting, that's socializing. It's not just getting something to eat. And we also went through that exercise during our quarantine, and we moved last year, so I've been waiting to get 6 months under our belt so I can do a review on expenses from our previous home to where we are now, and looking for that downward trend there on costs. But the dining out, I mean, I told Lou, I said, when things get back to normal, it's hors d'oeuvre hour, cocktails and hors d'oeuvres on the patio. I mean, you don't need to go eat a big meal.
Yeah,
And you can still spend a lot of time with your friends.
Yeah, because what ends up happening is it's not like you're just going to grab a pizza, like a $5 hot and ready together.
No.
You're going to some restaurant where you're sitting down, you're ordering appetizers, you're drinking, and it's $100, before you know it.
Easy.
Easy. Sometimes more. And then, of course, if you're like me, I can't help myself. I like hosting, and I'm like, I got it. I'll pick up the tab.
All the time.
I mean, I spent like $20,000 one year. I look back and I was like, can I write that off? Like, are we still allowed to do that? And then people are like, no, you can only write half of it off. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing?
It's probably mostly steaks too.
Steaks, whiskey, potatoes. Everybody likes a good potato.
All good.
And that's not a vegetable, that's a starch.
Yep. Yeah. You learned a lot.
Yeah, I learned a lot in quarantine. I learned how to cook too. That was actually back to the master class. There's good culinary classes on there too. And I learned how to cook some things. And so making restaurant quality food at home is just as fun, honestly. But business wise, I got in and dug into my expenses, and you start seeing all the monthly things that come out of, you're running your business account. And, do I really need, this spreadsheet that cost me $30 that I could probably create? Do I need, whatever? There's a million things. Maybe I can buy signs or have different signs and not always install a huge yard sign. Especially, I just did that. And I'm like, oh my God, I've got 15 million offers. Like, this is stupid. Cancel that sign installation. Because it's $30, $50,
This
whatever
time you
it is.
didn't need
It's
it.
stupid. And you start taking account and looking truly at your expenses and like what is necessary and being honest about it. You know what the killer is? Do you know how many streaming services we have?
Too many?
Netflix, HBO,
Stars.
Showtime, Disney Plus. I'm like,
But that's free this year with Verizon.
oh, great. Well, I have T-Mobile, so. But
Hulu.
yeah, Hulu. I feel like a Hulu. But you start looking at all those things. They're like, do I need all those at the same time? I'm not saying they're bad, but maybe hey, let's pick a show. I'm gonna have Netflix for a month or two. We're gonna watch what we're gonna watch, and then maybe we put it on the shelf for a little bit. And being smart about that, because you'd be amazed at what happens is I don't think people look at it and they go, well, Chris, it's only $15.
Yeah. But then there's
Wrong.
20 of them.
It's $180. No, it's only $15 a month. Wrong. It's $180 a year. And you're going to spend $180 because you're going to forget about it.
We all do.
We all do.
We all
And then it's another $180, and you got 5 of them. Now you're at $900 a year. You could go on a pretty nice trip for $900. Like for a weekend getaway.
Yes.
If you drive somewhere, you can go to like we're in Detroit. We could go to Chicago, have a great time for $900. That's a weekend getaway, a reset. Or you can have all these streaming services that you can only watch one of them at a time.
Yeah.
So that's one example of being honest with your finances. The other is how much money do you really make? I often say we probably don't have a revenue problem. We can get out there, we can get business in, we have sources that we can get income, but you really have a spending problem.
Yeah.
And you got to balance those two. I always tell people ask me, well, what's it mean to be a CEO, running your company? What's it mean? And I said, well, pretty basically I say I'm in charge of maximizing revenue and minimizing expenses. That's my short version of what I do. And so I'm constantly looking at how can we make more money by increasing revenue and cutting cost effectively.
And we all look for new ways to enhance our business, new techniques, new programs, whatever it is. And I think for me, the rule of thumb on that is it better be a 30 or 60-day trial, not jumping into anything with any long-term commitment until I see the return on investment and proof that it's going to work.
Yeah, we get bombarded, especially as agents. If you're, an individual agent, you're getting these phone calls where we're looking for a special agent to handle all these leads that we have, and all you have to do is pay us, and then we'll send you the leads. Stop, just stop. Because you know what? If they had all those leads, they would have it. They would be doing it themselves.
Right.
Right. So,
yeah.
You could get into revenue sharing programs. That's all. Go join a team that has leads. Where they're giving you something, you're generating income, and maybe sharing back for the fact that you got that. Like, the other way to look at that is, I wouldn't have gotten this deal and made this money if it wasn't for this relationship.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, and warm leads are always the best. Every time. Well, my friend, any notes to add?
I was going to ask you one last thing. Like, what's your one big nugget that you could share? If you could go back and tell yourself from 2008, what would you tell a spry young Deborah O'Neill?
To stay aware. You kind of touched on this, but when things are going really good, you tend to lose sight or maybe slack off in certain areas. And I would say, even though I'm better and I've learned and I think I retain very well, that you can never have enough cash on hand. Whatever that number is, double it and put it away, because we can be roaring through an amazing economy and expecting all good things. We did this year. Next year, we knew where interest rates were. We knew what inventory was like. We were poised to have a killer year.
Yeah, we were.
And real estate, and then like somebody turned the main power switch off and all the lights went out and we came to a screeching halt and we were forced not to work, which has never happened to any of us. So just when you think you've seen it all, you haven't. But it would be to just really, really stay prepared that way.
That's awesome.
And your point of minimizing expenses.
Yeah.
Always. Maybe a one-time a year review isn't enough. Maybe people need to do that twice a year.
How about quarterly?
Yeah, or quarterly.
If you're a real business.
I agree. Well, that'll be a wrap for us on our Agent to Agent series with Deb and Lou Ronayne. Much thanks to you. I love this guy. Lou and I love him. Everybody who meets him loves him.
That's not true.
It is. I appreciate your time, and we will see you again real soon with more videos in our series. Take care.